Hey, Greg here, founder of www.wrestling-divas.webs.com, your source for highlighting the most beautiful and deadly entertainers in the professional wrestling industry. Today, I have a very special guest joining me via Skype all the way from Australia. She has been wrestling for a number of years and began her career at the young age of 14. She has wrestled with the likes of Australia's best independent wrestlers and has trained with former WWE stars Rob Conway and Eugene. So I'd like to welcome my next special guest, Nikita Naridian. Hi Nikita, how are you?
Good, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for joining me tonight.
That's quite alright.
So, the first thing I noticed when I read up about you is that you started your career at 14 years old. And even for the standards of wrestling and when everyone gets their start, that's still a little young. So what was your inspiration for starting?
Yeah, I started young. Well, I started watching wrestling at 9 years old. And I knew from then on that's what I wanted to do. I don't think my parents really believed me, but then I remember walking down the street and seeing a poster, and it had live professional wrestling and where to go. So I went to the show and I found out where to train, and I started training at the ripe age of 14, exactly on my 14th birthday, and I haven't stopped since. But I don't regret it at all.
So at the young age that you were there people or friends that really didn't understand what you wanted to do with wrestling and your goal? Because, again, that's a very young age to get started, and there may be some people that didn't understand what you wanted to do with wrestling at the time.
People honestly thought it was just a hobby, especially at my young age. They thought it was just a phase and I'd possibly grow out of it. When I told people at school, I'm going to be a professional wrestler, I'd obviously get laughed at, and no one really believed me. And then, people see me like years later and they're like, oh, you're still wrestling. And then they realize that, I am trying to make a career out of it.
So, you must have had some sort of expectations as to what your training would be like when you first entered it. And I'm sure that once you actually went through with the training process, the whole thing was altered. Your perception of, what it was. So, can you explain how your perceptions and how your expectations were changed once you went through the training process, and what was most difficult about it?
I expected, just to learn how to do moves, and at 14, I still almost believed that it was all real. We actually go out there and hurt each other. When I got there, they were teaching bumps and how to do break falls and, how to protect yourself. And I was thinking, hang on, what's going on? I thought this was real, but I really learned that it's about storytelling. Psychology is actually the biggest part of professional wrestling. It's bigger than the moves, You can learn to do 100 moves, but the psychology is what is the most important part. The hardest part is definitely grasping onto the psychology part. I believe it takes years to perfect. I still haven't perfected it and I'm still learning, but that's definitely the hardest part.
So you explained that wrestling has psychology behind it, and of course the matches have a certain structure too. It's not, on the fly. There is some pre-planning between, the participants in the match. But a lot of the times with wrestling, the matches that everyone sees isn't recorded because independent companies don't have those types of luxuries to have those matches recorded. So how do you make the best out of the in-the-moment aspect of each match that you perform in?
I was always taught that it doesn't matter if there's 50 or 500 fans, to always go out there and give your best, because you can learn from any match you do. I actually sometimes enjoy working in front of a small crowd because it's more challenging to get through to them. Whereas bigger crowds, you know, people aren't too embarrassed to get into it and yell and, you know, bicker at you. But to make the most of it, I just go out there and do my best. Every single show, I make the most of it, and I appreciate every opportunity that I get to go out there and show what I have.
So your in-ring persona and choosing a moveset, trying to be unique and different, it isn't the easiest thing in the world to do, because a lot of the moves you may not even know have been used by other people, or, you know, fans might be hypercritical about, you know, your character and the actions that your heel or face character does. So how do you choose a persona for your character and make sure that the character is fresh and that it's something that fans might not have seen before?
Well, I believe the best characters are extensions of your own personality, and as we are all individuals, if you go out there and be yourself times 100, you're more willing to have a more unique character. As for moves, you can do a normal suplex, but you can change so much about a normal suplex, and you can just add your own flair onto every single move to make it that little bit more different than anyone else's.
Being so young backstage and for the companies that you work for, are there high expectations for you as far as what you need to prove? Because, you know, there might be some legends backstage who, you know, may think that you being in the industry at such a young age is, you know, kind of a joke. Are there high expectations for you to meet?
Yeah, definitely. Especially when I first started, people did just look at me as a joke. At 14, I wasn't exactly doing shows. I was just training for the whole year, and then at 15, I had a little show. After that first match, I think people had some respect for me, but you know, being my age and rolling with the bigger guys and the older people, it is hard to get along with them, because they are that much older than you and they have so much more experience than you. But if you just show them respect and that you respect what they've done in their career, they're more than willing to respect you despite your age.
So you went through with a process at a very young age. So my question is, would you recommend that other people your age get involved with the industry as young as you did, or would you encourage them to wait?
I honestly wish I waited till I was a little bit older, only because I could not grasp the whole psychology part at such a young age, and also my back is completely ruined already at the age of 18. I was told that I could not have kids as my back cannot hold it, but so I can't even tie up my shoelaces. I can't bend over that far. My back is just completely ruined, so I'd definitely wait till I was fully grown and developed. But honestly, you can't tell a 14-year-old ambitious kid, you know, not to do it, because that's all they want to do, and regardless, they're going to do it anyway.
One thing that everyone in the industry comes to terms with when they're first starting out is that making it to a big company such as the WWE is very, very slim, and you have had the privilege of training with Rob Conway and Eugene, which, for those who don't know, are former WWE stars, and even then, people don't realize that getting in a company like that isn't easy. It isn't based on talent. Sometimes it's based on a look. Maybe they have some particular, you know, character that they're looking for. So why do you think everyone chooses to pursue wrestling as a career despite knowing that making it to a company is very slim?
It's the passion in you. If I knew that I was never going to pursue WWE, I wasn't even going to try, I'm not sure if I would continue wrestling as regularly as I do right now. But, you know, I still respect everyone, like Japanese wrestling, you know, people wrestling for Ring of Honor. That's still amazing, and that has so much exposure, although they're not, you know, considered big companies. It's still, you can still make a career out of it. You know, in Japan you can live off wrestling. You know, that's also one of my ultimate goals, is to be able to live off wrestling and not have to do a normal 9-to-5 job. But yeah, definitely it's in you. If you know, you can't leave wrestling. You can retire and whatever, but it's still there regardless.
They always say that once you enter the wrestling business, you never truly leave it. So even if you don't make it to a big company, how do you think your career will follow you for the rest of your life?
If I don't make it into WWE, I'll obviously be very depressed, but I would still pursue it, you know, traveling all over the world. You know, I'd definitely try Shimmer. I do as much as I can to become, you know, a very big indie wrestler, you know, well known, like Chris Hero, Sarah Del Rey. I definitely try to get to that level.
Wrestling nowadays, and especially with the female products on TV, models who become involved with wrestling are getting a lot of criticism from fans and other wrestlers about not having the passion to become a wrestler and yet still being handed these spots on television. So what's your opinion on this controversy? Do you think that a model can become a good wrestler, or do you think that there's just something, a passion that's needed first beforehand?
Well, Trish Stratus started out as a model. She took the time to train and became one of the greatest, so it is possible. It annoys me when they do just hire them based on looks, and you can definitely see it in the ring that they are absolutely terrible. But if they take the time to train and become better, then I don't have a problem with it. But yeah, it is annoying, only because there are so many beautiful girls out there that look just as good and can wrestle amazing that do not even get noticed by WWE, which can be frustrating. But I think, you know, fans are actually speaking up now and telling them that this is not what they like. Hence, they've got Karma now coming in, which is the best thing right now. But yeah, as for the looks and everything, obviously WWE has to have that, you know, the product of it is very polished and professional. So of course, if you're willing to get to WWE, you have to have the assets, as to say, you have to deal with it, that yeah, you do have to look almost perfect.
So in an industry that has so few opportunities, because there's two major wrestling corporations currently broadcast on national television, and that's it. With so few opportunities, what keeps you going? What keeps you wanting to pursue wrestling, despite, you know, so few odds of making it really big?
Well, whenever I get down and unmotivated, I really just think about my future. I'm only young, so I still have age on my side, and if someone else can get there, why can't I? It is possible. If you just continue working towards it, you know, doors will open, you can get there. So I'm never going to give up, and I won't be content until I get there.
So, do you believe that anyone can succeed in this industry given the right trainer, or do you think that there definitely needs to be a strong level of passion for what you're doing? Because certainly there have been some in this industry that have entered it just for attention, and then a lot of others who just want to put on a good show.
You definitely have to have the passion for it. I mean, you can have the best trainer in the world, but if you don't have the passion, you're not going to be willing to wake up every day, go to the gym, you know, sacrifice family time, you know, wrestling every weekend, traveling all over the place. If you don't have the passion, you'll die out very soon. But I can definitely see how people who don't have the passion still get interested in it, because you do become a superstar. You can become whoever you want. So I can definitely see it. But if you don't have the passion, it will not. You will die out. You will be weeded out.
So there are a lot of aspects of wrestling that fans don't understand, and it's one of those things where you'll never understand it until you actually get involved with the industry. So did that fact kind of sink in as soon as you got started, and were there a lot of things that you didn't expect to happen that happened?
Yeah, I did not expect that there'd be so much drama and politics in wrestling. It's amazing that how, like, some immature people are actually in wrestling. Like, I thought everyone was going to be nice and welcoming, but it's a big shock when you go out there. Everyone's out there for themselves, which I totally understand. But there is so much politics. It's just like being in high school again. But if you just keep your head down and don't, follow the politics, you keep your mouth shut, then you can get along just fine. But yeah, definitely all that drama was definitely not what I expected. And also the pain that I put up with every day is not expected, but you get by.
You just mentioned a bit about the politics in wrestling, and I think that's one major aspect that fans don't understand. They see the product on TV and they realize, and they assume that that's what they're going to get with every company that, is out there. But that's not the case. So when you're talking to a young fan around your age and who wants to get involved with the industry, what do you say to them to prepare for an aspect of wrestling that they may not understand, like politics, for example?
Definitely just to keep your head down and don't get sucked into it. It's easy, to overhear a rumor and, you want to go and tell people, but you have to think about how that's going to make you look as a professional. People aren't going to book you if they know you as a person who, talks bad about someone else, one of their talent. Definitely to tell them, don't get involved if you're one of those people that do easily get sucked into things like that. Then don't even bother getting involved, because it will eat you alive.
So you've been wrestling for about 4 or 5 years now, and living the life of a wrestler, you learn a lot about yourself, and many would argue more about yourself than you ever will about actual wrestling. So over the course of your career, what have you learned about yourself in both a positive way, and of course you deal with frustration all the time. So how has wrestling and living that lifestyle helped define you as a person?
I think coming into it at such a young age, it made me grow up a lot quicker. I don't go out. I do not live, pretty much. I only live for the weekends when I'm wrestling. It made me realize that I can be sensitive. If I hear someone talk bad about me, I get really offended, and especially about wrestling. If someone criticizes my wrestling, it really, really hurts, because that's all I have. Like, that's all I want to be. And if someone criticizes that, it really hurts. But I've also learned that I can put up with a lot. Especially the politics, I've learnt to put up with a lot. Not at first. At first, I was very upset after every little rumor or whatever about me. But after a while, you just smile and laugh it off. And that's the best thing that I've learned, because I've learnt to stick up for myself also, which I never did before wrestling. And yeah, so I've definitely become a stronger person in this business.
So looking ahead, how would you like to develop yourself even further? Some people want to go train internationally in Japan and Mexico, and some people would like to seek, other legends to train with, or would just like to learn how to do a move. How would you like to develop yourself as time progresses?
Well, this year, I'm going to be going to Lance Storm's Wrestling Academy with myself, my partner Ryan Rollins, Casey Cassidy, and Carlo Cannon. We are going to be going over to Lance Storm's to train for 3 months. The reason I chose Lance Storm's is because he's done everything I want to do. He's wrestled all over the world, and he is one of the most amazing wrestlers that there is. So, that's how I'm going to further my education in wrestling. And then after that, I'm going to go straight over for FCW tryouts straight away and continuously do that till they say yes.
Well, going to your character in a little bit in depth, when you start out, you may start out as a face, or, if you have that kind of natural talent, they may start you out as a heel. Each character is limited in some sort of way, because as a heel you can't do flashy moves, and as a face, you're a bit more one-dimensional character-wise. So how do you make sure that your heel and your face character stand out to the crowd?
Well, I'm a heel at a company called NAW, and I started off as a face, but over the course of a year, they built me up really well as a heel. So the fans have followed that storyline, and they've really gotten into it. So that's made it a lot easier on my part. It's so much easier to make people hate you rather than like you. I enjoy being a heel more. I believe my character comes out more in me as myself. Like, not saying I'm a bitch or anything, but it comes out more natural as a heel. As a face, you definitely have to have emotion in you. If you can make someone feel so sorry for you that they start a chant for you, then you're a good face. If you can connect to just one fan in the crowd and make them feel sorry for you as you're getting beaten down, then that makes you a good face. And the flashy moves, you can be a heel and do flashy moves just as long as you're not outdoing the face. So yeah, it's a lot to, grasp onto, but making it unique, just putting your own twist on your moves and just, bringing your own personality out in your wrestling.
When your career has run its course, and of course there's no time frame for when this will happen, what do you want to be remembered for the most by the fans?
I would like to go out like with so much respect like Trish did. She's a big inspiration of mine, just to show that hard work and dedication does pay off. One person who really showed that is CM Punk. He, a lot of people don't know this, when he first started WWE, he was actually laughed at by Triple H and John Laurinaitis. And if you look at him now, he's a champion, and, he has this most amazing storyline with John Laurinaitis. I want to go up like that and have people respect me for my craft, and not just for my looks or whatever, but definitely respect me as a wrestler and as for what I've done. And hopefully I can inspire people like the people who have inspired me.
Now, you just mentioned that you want to be remembered by what you've done and what you've accomplished in all of your accolades. And of course, being a woman in this industry, there are people who, look at wrestling as, just pretty girls who are wrestling, and just, pretty faces to look at in the ring. So what do you do to kind of make people think above that kind of look standard?
Yeah, like, you put effort into your looks. I'm willing to go and get, the assets that I need to get to WWE, but if you can go out there, men may start off saying, oh, she's pretty, but if you can, deliver a devastating move, then they'll forget that they're actually watching women's wrestling and they're just watching wrestling, which is what I try to do every match. I try to, not make it a women's match, but just make it a normal wrestling match, which just happens to be with women.
So, wrapping up How can fans keep in contact with you and keep up to date with what you're doing?
They can definitely contact me on my Facebook, facebook.com/Nikita Naridian, and also I have a Twitter, which is twitter.com/Kellyanne. So yeah, they can keep up with me there and contact me, and I'll most probably reply.
Well, I want to thank you, Nikita, for your time, and especially since we're on different time zones, so I really appreciate you taking the time to do this, and I wish you the best in all of your endeavors.
Thank you so much.
Well, thanks to everyone else who checked out this interview. Be sure to check out www.wrestling-divas, and that's divas with a hyphen, .webs.com, and of course Divas with a Z. Can't forget the Z at the end of Divas. I always forget to do that. .webs.com for more content, and be sure to follow the site on Twitter at Wrestling Divas, again with the Z at the end.